Alright. So I don't know if you guys can hear my fan in the background. Unfortunately, this is going to be one of those days where if you can, gonna have to probably deal with it a little bit because it is hot. It's not as hot as it's been. It's in the hundreds over the weekend, and luckily today it's at a fair 80, like mid 80s, so I'm alright with where it's at. Whereas over the weekend, I just gotta realize I got this one panel right here up in the corner. What one is this? Let me close this. There we go. Yeah, it was too hot over the weekend to stream, so I ended up not streaming. It was like mid 100, like 100 to 110 area, like 105, like the whole freaking weekend. So I am now better energized and ready to be going about the content. I definitely wasn't going to miss this chapter. Hype for Gray's new abilities, the Gray's transcendent magic, and I'm guessing this is only going to be part of it because it was what I would assume is the transcendent magic for his ice make, whereas his devil slaying has to still be its own thing because Gray's the one that's using two completely separate magics, unlike a lot of these other guys, where it's like Natsu's primarily just going to have fire dragon slaying, Ursa's going to be in a requip, Lucy's with her keys. Gray has two magics that are both ice, but are two fundamentally different magics at her core. Ice make and devil slaying are two completely separate things he's going to, I would hope, get transcendent states on. This was actually really cool in just the very basic way that it is an upgrade, similar to like Lucy not needing to use her keys, because Gray is able just to spontaneously make this large scale level of individual ice make all dynamic so they can all move on their own. And given the fact he has his devil slaying on, I would assume that this has devil slaying abilities and attributes at least into the ice. Whereas I think it'd be safe to assume that with his devil slaying transcendent magic, it'll like have a more progressed form. I think it'll be that'll be more weird for me for Gray's transcendent magic if the devil slayer side of it doesn't have anything just like as a further stage in his like demonification or devilification or whatever you want to call it, where it becomes more devil-like. Like, it literally can just be like he gets like a fang and a horn and maybe a claw. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I assume there'd be something to indicate this version is progressed. Whereas, like, with, say, Lucy not needing her keys, we know that it's an easy advance from just, like, the structure of the story and what we know about her magic and what we know her limitations and abilities have been up until that point. As well as with Gray, whereas we know Gray has been able to do certain things, not as static, like when he fought Silver, he was able to make an ice clone of himself, but this is clearly like a much larger scale and full dynamic, like all these different ice constructs are moving all at their own accord. So this is one of those things where it just shows like 100% Gray's running fully dynamic ice make. Like it's fully mobile. It's not completely stuck in place like it was, throughout most of the story. It's advanced in a way that's very easy to get, yet very beneficial for him. Can Gray summon ice demons? I would assume that with ice make and being able to do dynamic kind of the setup, he eventually would be fine making what would essentially be ice like devils and demons. Not the same thing, but they would effectively be the same thing, but they're not their own individual creatures. What's up, Bud Reed Mashal? I would agree the last Mashal chapter is pretty good. I was really enjoying it. I want to see more of like these big people fight. It's really cool when you get to see kind of like a big jump in tier of combat. Like when you're seeing what big people in a specific world are capable of in comparison to what you're used to. Like we're used to seeing people at Mash's level and like the students and stuff, but Wahlberg's top dude and so is Adam. So this has been really cool just to see like what people like the most powerful in the world are capable of, but also ability-wise what they're capable of. So, I mean, and as far as we know, this was just the warm-up. I can't wait to see more from Wahlberg and what his more, like, complex spells are and, like, his just general usage of what he's going to be able to do. Subrex Mishima didn't miss this week. No, and he went crazy on both Eden Zero and Fairy Tail. I definitely really want to see where this next one goes. Like, it's so frustrating because when I know exactly how things are going to open up with, it sometimes can make it more frustrating, because I know the next chapter is going to go back into the Selene and Suzaku fight, and we're actually getting it about how I wanted it, which is really cool. We opened with Selene versus Suzaku. went over to Lucy and Mimi, then over to Gray and Hakune, and then we're getting back to Celine and Suzaku. This is actually, at least structure-wise, exactly how I wanted these fights to go. I fully believe that Suzaku is going to have to escape, but I don't think that he's going to just be able to turn and run. My guess is that other members of Diabolos, that's where they're going to come into the current arc in the story, is they'll have to save Suzaku. Like, if the next chapter we see Suzaku turn to ash and get teleported to Scoleon, that wouldn't surprise me. But again, it'd be one of those lines of a predictability that just be like down a line of like, oh, I think this will happen based off of these things, and it's not of like, oh yeah, it's just this is the only thing that possibly could happen. And I think it's the most logical thing that can happen, as well as it would also progress and advance aspects in the story, because it would bring Diabolos back in front. The only thing I would say that would surprise me in that setup is Natsu and Urza are both back up, and if Suzaku isn't KO'd by the time Diabolos comes into play now, I think that would really render my belief of like the best solution for Fairy Tail and Diabolos meeting up. Because I was thinking, oh well, they can meet up while Suzaku, Urza, and Natsu are all down. So the most aggressive individuals in those groups are currently out of commission. So you could have a way more logical conversation between the two factions as to breaking the misunderstanding of what's going on between their two guilds, and hopefully getting on the same page of defeating Celine, because it's very clear that neither faction is going to be able to defeat Celine on their own. It's very clear that the Fairy Tail Guild group and the Diabolos Guild members need to, at the very least, come to a uniting point, and if they're going to do anything. And I still think there's going to need to be more. Like, I fully believe they're going to need to bring, like, in people like Jalal, like Laxus, Sting, and Rogue. They're going to need way more big forces, maybe even guild arts, to take down Celine, because she's at full power. Nothing's hindering her. She's way more tactical and intelligent than the Dragon Gods we faced so far, and I personally be willing to place bets that she is going to be the most cunning out of the five. The only one that I could see potentially more of like difficult to fight and just like their sheer arsenal and sheer knowledge and capabilities will be Viernes, because it's really going to depend on Viernes, like why exactly is he so secretive? Where does that play into like his role and his layout and everything? Whereas like Celine, she clearly knows a lot about what's going on. I'm willing to guess she spies on people all the time with her magic and whatnot and her abilities. But yeah, I think that the Diabolos and the Fairy Tail groups are gonna have to at some point come together and be like, hey, let's just have a word with each other, because the big moon dragon lady is definitely too much for us to deal with on our own. What's up, No Anime Vortex? How you doing? It has been a while. What are you doing up to today? Does anyone feel bad for Rebecca? Not as much. The thing with Rebecca that's more confusing to me, and I'm hoping we get an explanation, is if she has, at some point in the future, like something happens and she has mechanical legs, why can't she use her ether gear? Because Jin can. There has to be some form of reasoning as to why Jin can or why Rebecca can't that would make sense. Maybe Jin's is just a special case because he started using it so early and he just got used to it, and it's maybe very uncommon for somebody to be able to use ether gear with artificial limbs. That could be something. Maybe that's just a Jin specialty, which could be like his big hype thing. Who really knows? Like, it's gonna have to wait and see exactly what Mishima reveals in that. I definitely think that's something he needs to address, because it's established in the story that Jin can do this. But why is it that Rebecca can't? I really don't think he should just brush past that. I think that he's put himself in a spot where that needs to be addressed, because it doesn't make as much sense to the story if it's not ever brought up or really kind of given an explanation. And it could literally be as simple as, oh, Jin is a really rare case of somebody who can do that. Because otherwise it's like, well, why didn't you just like figure out what Jin was doing and then do it, and then bam, cat leaper with your robot legs? I don't know. The popcorn guy looks like he's going to be an overarching villain. I hope so. I hope Candy Flurry does well. I like the bad guys so far. I thought the gum spider dude was actually pretty cool. And like how he was introduced with that sideways panel was really neat. I like how Wise always outsmarts his opponents, like against Laguna. Mueller and now Nase. I don't think he's nearly as much outsmarting them in say of like. I'm trying to think of like a character who like someone like I'm trying to think of like an on the feet kind of like tactical guy versus like a prep one, because I was gonna say his is way more of he goes way more prepared, kind of not necessarily like Batman, but like that Batman style of I need to have a couple plans go into place just in case. Kind of like how Nase, like he's got his hypnosis, but he had that mech suit prepped in case his hypnosis didn't function. Of just having a a couple of trump cards in your back pocket kind of thing. Where you're not like, oh man, I've now engaged you in a battle of wits, where it's like, oh man, it's a good thing that I thought I should have something extra in case shit goes down. Maybe I prepare one or two things kind of thing. And I'd say it more of like Batman, kind of like in the mindset of just because obviously Batman's like probably the easiest character to give an example of, hey, prep time. But you know what I mean. I do like that, though, how he's going about it. I really enjoy his utilization of his Arsenal suit, because the Arsenal suit, very different from the other characters, is why I think it'd be cool if Jin also had its own thing, like being able to use ether gear with artificial limbs. Each of them had their own kind of like thing they specialized in. Because Wise's thing, rather, is Wise is the only one really with two different kind of primary movesets. Because Shiki's really just using his ether gear. Rebecca is using her ether gear, but she also has her guns, but her guns aren't nearly as... They're not nearly as, like, the big focus of what she's capable of. They're really just a weapon that she's using. Whereas Jin, like I said, maybe his being able to use it with artificial limbs is, like, his special thing. You have Sylph. Sylph's maybe her, like, AoE. Maybe her hacksness with being able to trap things in her wind. But Wise has the Arsenal suit. The Arsenal suit is its own separate thing, its own different... Like, they both use ether, but it has a whole different set of uses than, say, like, how he's using his ether gear. His ether gear is almost secondary to his Arsenal suit, but his ether gear isn't, like, nearly as much of an offensive one. It's really a dangerous support kind of thing. It's a really useful support. Like, the easiest way to compare it, for those who have read and watched, it doesn't really apply yet, but read Bleach, Keyskate or Hara's Bankai is essentially the same thing, but he's just reconstructing things, where it's like, you can, like, that one sentence can go a long way. Wise can reconstruct machines in real time. That one sentence can go a long way of what he can do, and he can apply it to his Arsenal suit. So his Arsenal suit really is... It's sort of its own thing, but like like his ether gear works well into it. I really want to see more of his Arsenal suit, though. I like the Mark II. I think that was really cool, seeing just the slight differences. I saw some people complaining that it didn't look that different, but I'm like, yeah, it's a Mark II. It's only supposed to be like slight alterations. It's mild upgrades. It's not like Mark 30. It's like, hey, this is the first upgrade to my invention. So, like, when we get to, like, Mark 5 and 6, we'll probably start seeing crazier things, but, like, I don't know. You can tell the people who just want to complain if they're like, man, Mark 2 doesn't look that crazy. It's just like, yeah. Do you know, like, what a Mark 2 is? Like, you can look at, like, Kamen Rider stuff, like Sentai, obviously where Wise's whole Arsenal suit is way more kind of reference from, or Power Rangers, or you can look at like probably what I would say the easiest one is for people. Let's look at like Iron Man. Iron Man's suits are slightly different each one. I just thought it was kind of weird of like, why is that your thing to complain about? Like the Arsenal suit is slightly different. It's like, did you expect him to have a whole new design or what? I don't know. Dante voiced by Patrick Seitz in the Black Clover dub. I like his dub voice. I definitely like his sub voice more. I like how Wise always outsmart. Oh, wait, I read that one. Wise of the 4 main cast, I think, has the best overall fights. He definitely has the most interesting, I would say, because his are way weirder. It's kind of like how one of the things with a Gray fight, because of how Gray's abilities work, like, usually Mishima gives him really strange fights, and you aren't gonna have, like, some of his fights can be the weirder ones. Like, think about Racer's fight when they're, like, on motorcycles. And I know Mishima has kept a lot of his guys on motorcycles. There's been parts where Wise, Musica, and Gray were all on motorcycles. They're all way different contexts, and they're done differently, but they're all motorcycles at some point. But it's just like how he's willing to make the fights be way stranger with those guys. Whereas, like, for the most part, not like Natsu, Shikihara are going to be more like direct battles. Sometimes they'll be different, but they're not going to be nearly as strange as what you get with, like, Gray, Musica, and Wise. I very much am hyped for this mech battle between Wise and Naza. I think that's going to be really cool. And just because I'm only 15 or so minutes into the stream, I'd really appreciate it if you would thumbs up the stream, befriend the thumbs up button, the like button, subscribe button if you haven't, and if you feel like it. It's only, it's entirely just optional. If you want to throw any super chats my way, that's only as a means of essentially a tip. Aren't required. Gray powers. Wait, you didn't like Gray's powers? Gray's powers so trash, and it's the fight. He's the worst character name. How so? I mean, his fight wasn't too long, but it was more character set, but I really liked the art of it was really cool. The grand scale of his new attack was really cool. And I like what it opens up for Gray, because it's these way more defined ice make constructs that he can do, which I think will be really neat to see. Like, what if he has like a devil, like a way more Devil Slayer version of this, where his ice knights have like horns and like claws and stuff, and they just look way more monstrous. That'd be really cool. Or if Gray made something like just like a giant ice devil. But then again, it's Sinbum. He's just hating to hate. He never wants to have a good opinion or a positive one. It's always unfortunate. Enjoying the Euros racks. England is winning it all. Wait, what about Euros? I haven't gotten any Euros lately. Did someone donate and I didn't see? Because if so, I apologize. I don't think so. Oh, there we go. Sir Tusby hits 300 soon. Let's go. Thank you for the $5. Well, that's not Euros either. That's straight English.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I gotta wait for it to play.
He's busting a nut.
Thank you very much for the super chat, man. I am hyped for 300. I'm curious to know what Tabata's gonna do for 300, considering the Megicula reveal is in probably the most hype thing. The only thing I'd say that was more hype in this whole arc in reality, like, there are like more temporary, like, not temporary, momentarily hype things, like Yami getting captured. That was crazy, because it's like, oh, you thought like you were out of the woods? No, Yami gets captured. Xenon shows up and just pretty much makes it a no-win scenario. But I'd say the craziest thing that's happened in this is Morris's involvement in general. I think was something that everyone wanted so bad, but also the whole acceleration on the gate. Hiccup there. Getting into the Heart Queen Wisdom and accelerating the opening of the gate. That, in my opinion, is the craziest thing that's happened in the arc. Second is Megicula coming out, because like Morris's thing was, like, Megicula's thing was really cool, but Morris's thing was, one, it was way more wanted, I think, by the fans, and it was so much more of a game changer that it's like, yeah, that time frame we thought was going to be the case is completely out the window as long as Morris is in the picture. Like, the Morris stuff was really cool. But yeah, where was I going with this? I completely lost my train of thought. Feels like what's going to happen with Rebecca. To me, it feels like they're going to take her a while to get back. I don't think it's going to be a long time in this future dream. I think we're going to get some cryptic information and maybe a return after that of, like, what she needs to do. Because the thing is, with her ability to kind of get info from the future, the thing that I realize is it holds the potential to counteract Nero's whole thing about his Emperor Dice, like, either telling him how he needs to act or giving him information from the future, which could completely tip the scales, because his thing is really dangerous from his position, because if he knows everything that's going to happen and he's still confident on what like he needs to do, that just tells them that he's got all his ducks in a row, like he's setting all this up. It's a game to him. It's like playing an RTS game. He's sitting back, he's commanding his legions, he knows what his opponents are going to do, and he knows where to point and direct. And the thing that he has right now is numbers. He has a massive amount of numbers. I don't know like how well his level of 1-for-1 forces are going to play out in the end. Considering Milani's already done. It looks like Nasa is going to be done within the next couple chapters. I don't see anybody really on their team that could fight people like Justice or Eraser or Jaguar or Elsie. Like, when it comes to them, I don't really know what they're going to do other than win with sheer numbers. Who's the absolute best character in Jujutsu Kaisen? I mean, I would have picked Nanami. But other than Nanami, I actually really like Megumi. I'd probably pick Megumi. He's had some really solid character development. Gray summoning those knights was cool, but ending was... I mean, it was a short fight. I would have personally liked it to be longer, but for it to have really been longer beyond this, we would have had to have... We really would have had to have a sign that Hokune was a fighter and not a caster. Because that's something you always have to take into account, is the style at which a character fights. Because if somebody's a caster, they're not used to taking damage. Look at Mimi. Mimi was not a caster. Mimi was a fighter, and Mimi was a tank because of it. She was an all-around, straight, beefy tank. Whereas Yoko was the summoner, Hokune was a caster, and Mimi was their fighter. And because of that, she doesn't have the level of durability when characters get into the point where they can damage her. I actually really liked the way that Gray won by opening up the distance, not letting her get close, and just sheer overwhelming her. Because sheer overwhelming it's always a viable way to defeat a character, as long as it makes sense of why this character is able to do it. We know that Gray hadn't got his Transcendent Magic in Elentier yet. We knew it was a possibility. All the characters have Transcendent Magic, we just haven't seen it yet. And we know that each of these fights were going to be way more set on ability demonstration rather than like a neck and neck fight. This isn't Urza versus Laxus. Like, we're not getting a 1-to-1 big battle. These aren't like, oh, this character's battle for the arc. Whereas like when we saw like Urza had some fights in the last one, but Urza versus Laxus was the main big fight she had in that arc. I don't think this is going to be Gray's big fight. It's probably going to be the rematch against Scoleon, assuming that Scoleon and Gray will have a confrontation, because I think that match has to get settled. And with Diabolos should be in Elentier, so I would assume that fight will take place again. I'm going to do a video on like how that fight can go now that we've seen this addition to Gray's moveset with this like large-scale dynamic ice make. I would say, like, obviously, like, any fight, I would be like, oh, man, make it longer. I would love to have longer fights, just because, I mean, I like battles and stuff. But I also know where the value is in some of, like, the larger scale fights. Scoleon versus Gray in a rematch absolutely needs to be 2 to 3 chapters at the very least. Because what do we know about Scoleon that differs entirely from Hokune? Scoleon is a fighter. Scoleon is a Dragon Slayer. By default, he is designed to take damage. He's designed to take hits. If we get to that fight, that is a fight that is way more needed to be long. We need at least 2 long combat-focused chapters. Not like what we got with Gray in the last chapter, where we got some moves, which were cool, but we got a good lot under the whole ice fantasy that Hokune put on Gray, and we got a lot of Gray character content from that. But we got that here. We don't need that in the Gray versus Scoleon. If we get to the Gray versus Scoleon rematch, I think it should be primarily just fights. I think it should be between 2 to 3, maybe 2.5 is a good number, but at least 2 fully focused fight chapters. If we get to that point, I'm really hoping that that's the case. As much as I like Hokune. I like her character, but there is the fact that she wasn't... Like, she's hyped, but, like, once we got past Diamond Effect, if she didn't have something greater that could just, like, hacks out Gray, she would have to go on the offensive, and we never saw any outright combat from her. We never saw any direct combat from her. So, like, besides her hacks, it was like, well, once we get past her hacks, like, she doesn't have the fighting capability, so, like, Gray should have little to no problem. Scoleon absolutely has no excuse to that. Like, he should be durable. When we get to him versus Gray, I definitely think that fight needs to be way more focused. Wait, I read this one. I want to see Nase versus Wise looks work on a suit together. That'd be pretty cool. Well, I don't know if what it was again. I can't remember his name. Nase. I don't know if he himself is an inventor or if he just has that mech. Right? I really just want. Do you think Shiki and Noah are the only characters that major good guys are alive? That's a high possibility. It depends on like how the reveal is going to go next chapter. If they're in a timeline where things went bad. Rex, we're getting Gaja backstory next and finding Ultimate Magic. Push my agenda. Why? Wait, where are you getting information that it's a Gaja backstory chapter next? I fully agree that we could get one soon. I don't know about next chapter. Because like once we get to the him and Lolo focus, we'll probably get a flashback. I don't know if we're going to get like dedicated flashbacks to Gaja. So I think Gaja's backstory could be easily very short, but understandable. Because Gaja's, I think, just needs to be in, like, why he has so much loyalty to Lola Petchko, like, his standpoint on, like, how he sees her, and, like, essentially, what drives him. Why is he so willing to put his life on the line for her? And I think it could be summed up really just very simply as, like, that, you know, that's his queen. At the end of the day, the easiest way to do it is the most logical, of, like, he is a soldier, he is a member of the Heart Kingdom, and this is his queen. This is the queen of the Heart Kingdom. So it makes complete sense of why you would want to protect her. Oh, is it Sindra H. Priest? How are you doing? How's it going, Sin? How are you enjoying Final Fantasy? Rank Rebecca, Noelle, Power, and Nobara. And who's the best written to worst written? Right now, I mean, it's very hard to say. Power is not that like in terms of being written, Powers not that complex, but I feel like Powers is just like the way that she's set up in the story and the fact that she's coming back. It's more of like for a good chunk of the story she was Power, and then we got like obviously the stuff with the Darkness Devil. She had some trauma, and we did get some development from her. I would rank her above Nobara, and then I'd probably go from top to bottom: Noelle, Rebecca, Power, Nobara. Nobara is cool, but the thing that Nobara has a legit problem on with the little Kukisaki is you get her in the story, and you really only notice it strongly if you watch the anime and then think about, okay, well, what's next for her specifically? You, like, imagine the anime. You get all, like, well, I mean, the anime covers, like, a good chunk, but it's, like, up to around 60 or so chapters. After that point to now, Kugisaki really doesn't have much, and I don't know about like if she, you know if it's gonna be revealed she's still standing in the manga or what. But think about just like from everything that happened before the flashback arc, like up until the fight with Kechisu and Eso. She did a fair amount. You had the stuff with like Kyoto versus Tokyo. You had like. Well, I don't know what that mini arc was called, but it was obviously where like Sukuna had to come out and then like Yuji almost died and stuff, and he had to make the deal with them. I don't remember that exact part where like they essentially thought he was dead for a bit, like everything that happened there. But like between the fight with Eso and Kechisu and then up until the stuff in Shibuya, there's like almost nothing. And she has like hers is less character development and more of like us finding out about her as an individual, which is still fine. But it's like she doesn't get a whole lot beyond the base layout that she was given. Let's go on Rax BC at 300 soon. Hell yeah, dude. I'm pretty excited. I wonder what Tabata's going to do for 300. If we get Ivanica backstory, she's joining the good side. I don't think so. I really don't think so. She's too far gone. She killed Noelle's mom. Like, there's a difference between if she did some bad stuff and, hey, you directly led to the death of somebody's mom because you just felt like fighting her. It's like, no, nobody wants to have her around. I like Monica, but Monica's like Celine, where I know at some point she's going to die, and it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, you have to kill her. You can't leave her alive. Like, Radius is somebody that, like, has some dark, like, skeletons in his closet. There's some dark parts to, like, his story. But he wasn't so far gone, and you understood why he was like that, to where it was a little bit understandable, and it wasn't entirely on him. Whereas Vonica was just killing people for fun. Like, she's a psychopath. Who's the absolute best character in Black Clover? I like Zora the best. Zora or Noct are Noct is probably one of like the most fan favorites. I would definitely put my money on Zora if I got to pick one. The only problem right now is Zora hasn't had a moment in a long time. We haven't had like a good Zora day in forever. Because like Zora didn't have anything to do up until recently coming back. He didn't do a whole lot in the Elf Resurrection arc when you think about it. Like he had some parts, but he never had like his own big focus. Like he helped stuff with Asta, he helped stuff with Nozel and Noel, but he didn't have like his own big focus point at that during that arc. And I'm in many belief as well with others that he's gonna have something soon, but we gotta wait to that. I think like it'd be like having an Elfman chapter. Elfman has a lot of stuff throughout like the series, and then when you get to Tartaros, he has that one part of being controlled by Sayla, and then like you don't get a lot of him until recently. It's not that he's a bad character. There's absolutely zero issues that I have with Elfman, but it's like there's a good chunk where you just don't get content from him. And that's how it feels like with Zora, but for Zora, though, I would probably put as my favorite in the series. And he's got one of the best backstories, too, and I really like how he's set up in the series as well. Just makes me, actually saying that just makes me really want to have, like, Elfman join an arc. I would love to have some Elfman in there. Looking forward to the Hunters Guild. I liked it. I liked the first chapter. Reminded me of Bloodborne. Jin modified his body, or Rebecca probably just lost her legs and probably didn't modify them. Well, I don't think that'd matter, though, because the thing is, Jin's are fully robotic limbs. So there's definitely a way to use your ether gear through prosthetics. There has to be a way that like you can have you can channel your ether gear through a mechanical thing, because machines also use ether gear. So they have machines and artificial materials that ether travels through and can operate through. It depends entirely on how they explain it. It's explainable 100%, but Mishima needs to explain it. I legitimately think it will be a problem if it's not. It's kind of like how I explained if Sting and Rogue came back and they didn't have... It's not that if they didn't have their White Shadow Dragon form like mastered, if they just didn't, it's revealed like, yeah, we didn't talk about it or train or do anything about that for the last year, I'd be like, why that doesn't make sense. Why would these two not talk about it? It'd be one of those things where you just wouldn't get it. It would be such a big question mark in the story of why didn't this happen. Logically speaking, because of how Sting and Rogue are, at some point they would bring it up in their training, or even have a conversation with about it between each other, where it's like, oh yeah, Rebecca, hey, there's that person literally in your team who can do ether gear through artificial limbs. Why couldn't you? It could easily be explained. Or what it'd be like, oh, well, maybe Sting and Rogue, because of missions, didn't see each other for the last year. It's like, okay, that'd be really strange, but it's something that I guess you can work out. Where it's like, okay, all you would have to do for Jin and Rebecca is say that Jin is like a rare person that can do that, or it's like really difficult to master and Rebecca can't do it like nearly as close as he can. Something like that. I feel like that could make complete sense. Looking forward to seeing Chainsaw Man trailer. But wait, I'm guessing we've all seen the Chainsaw Man trailer. Yeah, I was hyped for it. I like it. I love the chainsaw sounds. I can't wait to hear that in action, like actually animated. Go ahead and find Star Drac and Joe and Herman. The anime look great. Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to Drac and Joe. I mean, that's gonna probably be season 2. I think Eden Zero season 1 will finish with the Sun Jewel, because that to me is the logical first place to end it. You ended on a high, you have a bad guy hyped up for Season 2, you have, like, a general understanding of a lot of the characters, as well as, like, thematically, you'd get, like, a really good stuff, a good amount of content from Homura, Rebecca, Shiki, and Wise. You get, also, like, even, like, comparing each of them get, like, a really solid moment. You get the Arsenal suit, which I think that'll be one of the most hyped things for the anime. It's when people get to that point, and they see Wise show up in a freaking mech suit. I think that's going to be super hype for a lot of people that are anime only. Even if they save people, no way that Lola Petrica's face go back normal. I think that she would keep her horns, because it'd be Wake at that point. She's been affected by it. I would assume at the very least she still has those horns, kind of like Nero. Maybe she'll have to turn into an animal too. Maybe she'll turn into like a beaver, like Big Moogie. What do you hope to see from Gaja this fight? His ultimate magic, man. I want to see some ultimate lightning magic, 100%. I want to see him throw some sick lightning bolts. Like, real talk. I really want to see like, I don't know how he's gonna have it. Like, if I got to pick, I would want Gacha, and it's like he has almost this, because like the Heart Kingdom is way more set in this very old kind of like in tune to nature setup. I want it to be like he's wearing almost like a witch doctor outfit or something, or like some sort of old shamanistic gear, but it's made out of like lightning clouds, and he's got a lightning bolt in his hand, or something really cool. I want something to play into him, and like the way he's already dressed, but kind of go about it, because like the way he's set up is he looks like some old shaman dude. You give him like a skull helmet and some like, you know, a staff with like a lot of sound creating things, whether it's bells or like something with bones in it. Like, he looks shamanistic, and that's what I like about Gacha's general design. Stop painting on you, Sinbad. You bring it upon yourself all the time. It being treated literally like a submissive dog. That's with mind control, though. I definitely wouldn't say there's any reflection on their quality. She's getting mind controlled. And it's not really fair to compare their ether gears, considering Homura was already really skilled in it, and Rebecca's the newest character to have it. Rax, did you seen the newest Mission Yozakura chapter? I put a chapter out. I thought it was good. I liked the ending. I thought it had it set up a lot of good stuff with just stuff for like the future arcs and future content stuff. Do you think they're gonna have to kill Celine? I assume they're gonna have to kill Celine. Celine's a character you can't really keep alive. It's like August. It's a character that if you just let be around, there's so many problems that could arise just from this character being left unchecked. Like, Celine left alone. If Celine gets away, it's one thing, but I think that ultimately they're gonna have to kill Celine. Patrick says, Kono Dio. Is it Dio's voice actor? Let's see. England's got this is truly, it's truly coming home. What do you mean by that? Is there like good, like, is England like on a financial uptick or something? Or are they doing something good? Gray not getting clapped makes Iron Nancy and I'm very sad. I'm glad Gray won. Gray doesn't need to get clapped. Gray's cool. I don't know what your guys' hate with Gray are. Like, Gray's a cool dude. Gray's always been a really good character. He's always been really likable. I don't know why anyone would dislike him. Football is coming home. Oh, what's going on? I'm so confused at what's been going on. I mean, how else are they going to make a deal with Celine? I think they're going to have to kill her. Nothing really happened in chapter 200 and 100, but Vanessa beating the Witch Queen. Oh, in chapter 200, we had Asta go confront Patron. We had that really big moment for, like, that was actually a really big moment for Asta's character, because it showed him having conflict with his own ideals of like how he, even though he wasn't going to forgive Patron, he still understood that he needed to help him because it would break his whole mindset. Because he knew that in order to achieve what he wanted, there are things that he's going to have to understand things from people's different perspective and understand, like, yeah, as much as I don't like what you did, I know it's not entirely your fault, and I want to help you guys too. And I've always really liked that. I really want to see like a good Patri to Asta interaction at some point in this arc, then kind of follow up on that, but that's going to entirely depend. I did really like that. Chapter 100 was, we got lore. We got lore that chapter, right? Didn't we? Isn't that when we found out about, the elven swords? Like, that they belong, all the anti-magic swords and all the swords in Asta's Grimoire belong to, Licht at some point? Oh, no, that was when they beat the Witch Queen. I think 101 is when they found out about the swords. That's still a good chapter. That doesn't feel like, you're right though, that doesn't feel like nearly as important of a 100 chapter. We could see though, maybe Tabata is just kind of playing around it and wants to do numbers near it. I don't really know. Seeking Zine, I'm curious what everybody thinks about him as Devil, who is one of the three rulers in the world. I'm only worried right now that he might get clapped real fast, because Dante and Vonica both got bodied, so I don't really know if he's going to give the same fate to freaking, if he's going to give the same fate to Xenon. And it makes me wonder, Xenon, or, do you think that Lucifaro lets Dante lose? Because Vonica, or like Megicula wants to kill Vonica at some point. So I'm curious if all the devils have their own kind of like scheme of like why they're working with each of these humans. Maybe like maybe Lucifero wanted to build Dante up so he could watch him fall, whereas with Megicula, it's seemingly like Megicula's working out this scheme to eventually, like, to make her more powerful, to eventually lead her into running into having three women three powerful female wizards that she can use her whole advent to come through with. So maybe we're getting something of a similar nature through Xenon's Devil, whatever Xenon's Devil is planning and scheming. We'll have to wait and see on that one, though. It's definitely something on the back burner. I think Xenon backstory is Monica and Dante bullying Xenon. I don't know about that. We've seen no signs that they would really bully each other. Which is worse, Morris did to Mars and his kid soldiers in Diamond King, or Moeller did to Jin and Queen. I personally think what happened to Jin and Clean, because Mueller, whatever, when he made Sylph watch, that was completely unnecessary. That was literally just to be a sick bastard. Whereas with Morris was doing it more. It was way more along the lines of his scientific experiments and why he was doing it. Whereas it didn't seem like he was just doing extra stuff for no reason, just for the fuck of it. Is the only power upgrade gaining in the series? Not really. He should be getting his own for his Devil Sling side. This was an upgrade to his Ice Make. But this is a really good upgrade. Like, the fact he can integrate his Devil Sling into it as well is really cool. But now that Gray has these Ice Legions, he can effectively have way more range with his opponent. And he has a very strong tactic now of opening range. So if he wants to open distance to somebody, or if he wants to just overwhelm them with numbers, send these guys in and then go up to them with another attack, and they're going to be distracted. It's like Lucy getting her, like, not having her keys to have to summon. Like, she doesn't need them. It's not nearly as much of a power increase. It's not like, oh, you've gained this crazy OP new ability. It's literally like you went to the base ruling of your magic and then just kind of said, okay, one of these rules you don't have to follow by anymore. It'd be like, actually, if Gray could do one-handed Ice Make with no problems. There was no instability stuff. If he got to just fully manipulate ice at will, no working in with his hands, he could just do it. It'd be something like that. I'm curious to know, like, what would Urza's even be? I still feel like fusing her armors and weapons somehow would be the best thing. He was my favorite new gen villain. He used to be. He was up there for me until he became a Pokemon. What do you think of Deku's character, where it's going? I mean, it's cool. I like Deku. His is I like that he's got, like, this, like, I need to get this done so, like, I can go back to being happy and keep my friends safe. I think that's pretty cool. It shows like he's taking the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's a cool development. I really want to see where he goes after he's confronted, because it's after other people kind of being like, hey, asshole, you're kind of we understand you, but you're kind of a dick for trying to, like, put this all on yourself and acting like we're not going to want to be involved and help you. Once he gets, like, a reality check from the people around him, I really want to see Deku's response from that, because I think that'll put him in kind of like an in-between of, like, older Deku and current Deku, where it has that way more kind of, like, serious in the scenarios, like, dealing with the bad guys. It'll be where he's at now, but he'll probably be way more relaxed, and we'll see way more of, like, a happy side. Him probably way more just, like, getting back in a... where it doesn't feel like it's a complete, like, drastic change, where it feels like, okay, we're back at least somewhat on the road where he's still Deku, but you can see how, like, being by himself has really altered him in multiple scenarios, where we still see this side of is like a permanent side to him, but we see him trying to do his best for other people around. I think that'll be really cool if we can get to that. If you've if anybody who's watched Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, think of how Jaden was in Season 4, is kind of what I'm hoping for Deku. In his own style, but in that same mentality. Who would win, Yo or Inuyasha? I think Yo, wouldn't he? Like, didn't he have, like, way crazier powers near the end? I mean, Inuyasha had his whole other dimension sword, but I feel like with Yo's, like, larger arsenal, he should be fine. At least from what I remember. I haven't read through Shaman King or Inuyasha in a long time. Given how Nero runs the Empire, no, the Interstellar Union Army never went after him. How do you think his forces are as big as? I would be willing to guess like his army is equal to or bigger than theirs, because it has to be at least enough of an effort that they couldn't mess with him. The dynamic between the Moonlight Beauty Gods and a team, they could be deadly trio as each cover their weakness pretty well. Yeah, Yoko's a summoner, Hakune's a caster, Mimi is a fighter. If Mimi had way more of like a bigger, like if Mimi had way more of a moveset, she would be way more, I think she'd be way more dangerous an opponent. Because one thing that is obviously bad for casters, you get the character who can get past your, whatever your moveset is for opening range and keeping people away from you, that's dangerous. So look at Yoko. Yoko is a good example of it. Without someone like Urza or somebody who could detect, figure out who the real Yoko was, she could just keep you in the copy, like her whole Shikigami fake version of Yoko, just keep making copies of herself, spam her yokai, and just overwhelm you. Whereas somebody like Mimi, against way more of a caster, somebody who's not like Lucy, who is able to figure out how to beat her, and just use a very high level of power spell, get the combo set up. Say like you had somebody who was just a caster, like couldn't compensate for somebody like Mimi, you're gonna get overwhelmed. Or if you're way more of a direct brawler and you have no way of dealing with Hakune's ice, then you're gonna get overwhelmed. Whereas like them three together, you pretty much almost have a full party. All you're really missing at that point is a healer. You get a healer and like they got a full set. They got essentially a full group of that healer. They don't have a healer. It's one thing that like you definitely got on the Fairy Tail side, that it's a very rare and very capable piece is having a healer. Like there's not a lot of healers in Fairy Tail. We just Ner going at it. I'm starting to warm up Deku, even though I'm still kind of mad. I don't like the multi-quirks thing. I do like the charge up one. That's one that I do like. I was really hoping that all of his additional quirks would kind of run like that, to where they're way more complementary to his main style and how they just upgrade his main one. Like the smokescreen one, I'm like, the danger sense, I don't really care for. Like, they're useful, but it's not like what I would have really hoped for. I like his Black Whip a little bit more than when it was first shown, but I don't know. I would have liked it more if they were all kind of... They all just did complementary things to All for One. They're way more just bare bones beneficial. Like something like that. I don't know. Like if he had one where instead he could put, instead of it being like, oh, it charged, like this one converts the offensive power for One for All into defense. So like it was almost like a pseudo hardening, but it was pretty much in just a, like he pretty much just strengthened his body. He literally just toughened himself out and became a Deku brick wall. Something like that I would have liked more. Leopold and Rill versus Panther Lily and Happy. Leopold, I mean, Happy is legitimately faster than both Leopold and Rill, like no joke. Panther Lily can't really do anything like majorly. Actually, I guess them combined honestly should be fine. Because you have Happy, who's already going to be resistant to everything Leopold can do. They have speed, they have mobility, and Panther Lily should have his sword. Like honestly, they should be able to win just fine. They actually have a really good team comp right there. Final Fantasy is good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've been trying to get more people to get into it, so I can have more people to play with, and then eventually I can have my maybe a free company or start one. I was thinking about starting one, but I gotta figure out how expensive like a guild housing is. Could Lucy defeat Sakura or Ruki? Yes. Sakura has like a very, very weak moveset. She's just pretty much a straightforward attacker. Rukia's Shikai and Bankai for Zanpakuto are dangerous, but she's not mobile. Like if she wanted to try and build up to that, Lucy could overwhelm her before then. Because Rukia isn't like a heavy fighter either. She does not that durable, but she has a very dangerous ability. But all you have to do is take her down before that, and you can defeat her. Why is Celine such a bully? I mean, she's crazy. She's definitely like she's one of those people. She's so aware of her. One, she's a dragon. She's a multi-century dragon who is all powerful. There's only a few other people in the world that can mess with her. She's extremely intelligent, knowledgeable. She has all of the traits really to back up her level of significance that she believes she is, because she's obviously very important. Like, there's nothing about her, if you wanted to try and call her out, that she's lacking in. She's powerful. She's knowledgeable. She's of age. She's of a very highly classed race. She's of crazy stature. She owns, like, an entire dimension. She's just kind of crazy, and she can back it up, essentially, with everything. Both Lucy and Noelle have an arcs dealing with family drama, but which arc do you think was better? I like Lucy's more. It's way more. Lucy's has way more focus on the family drama than Noelle's. Noelle's is way more on her overcoming it. Well, I guess actually now that I think, but they both have about the same amount. I think you get it way more referenced with Noelle. I think is way more of a thing. It's way more focused in how it affects her character than it does with Lucy. Lucy's is an aspect to her, whereas Noelle's is literally like a big point of like the plot for her. Whereas Lucy's is a plot point in the story of stuff that goes on with her dad. Noelle's has to do with her position overall, because like her ability to control her magic was an issue, as well as her upstanding with her family, with her, like her brothers and her sister. It was way more of something that was apparent that she had to have to go through, because like none of the Fairy Tail Guild members had a care about Lucy's backstory, like her problems with her dad. It was never something that like she ever had to really deal with outside of with herself and her dad. It was kept in where that story is, where Noelle's stuff had to do with her, like her ability to use magic in general, or affected her everyday life, as well as her brothers and sister are part of the Magic Knights. They're a whole squad. It had way more of a reoccurring impact, I'd say, on Noelle. I liked Lucy's because Lucy's was way, at a core level, it was way more easy to understand, because you don't have nearly as much of like, her dad's reaction wasn't nearly as confusing as like Noelle. Like Noelle, it was like, oh wow, why is he like this to her? Like, why are they okay with treating her like this? And you understood like, oh yeah, she led to the death of their mom, but it's like that's not like issues of childbirth and stuff, and like what happened there is, it's not her fault. Like, she didn't choose to do that. So it's just like, in reality, once you're old enough and mature enough to really like understand like this is zero way her fault, it was like, why are they taunting her? Why are they doing this to her? Whereas like with Lucy's dad, you didn't need to know the specifics about her mom dying. It was more about how her dad kind of changed after that. Lucy's is way more, I think, easy to understand, whereas Noelle's has a little bit extra mystery to it in the way that it's presented, but I'm trying to think of which one I really have more. I think I honestly have to just go with Lucy's more, because Lucy's was the whole catalyst for Phantom Lord. And though Noelle's is also really good, Noelle's never is like a focal point for where events in the story kind of progress from, and where it kind of directly takes focus on. Because like she's learning control over time, and eventually we see like parts where she kind of demonstrates it to her family, like during the Royal Magic Knights exam. We saw like the fight during the Elf Resurrection, whereas stuff with Lucy and everything with her dad, like wanting to like reobtain her during Phantom Lord, had the effect. It was the catalyst that started Phantom Lord. So it's like it had way more of a grand story kind of piece to me, at least, because of like everything that comes with that arc. Juvia, Gaggia. You had the first Dragon Slayer fight. You had the two Wizard Saints clash. We got Fairy Law introduced. That was really around the part where we started also seeing other characters in the guild, and like information on the guild. First time we found out about info on guild arts. We saw Mystigoon actually doing something. We got more info on Polyushka. We got stuff on Laxus and his behavior and like what he's like. There was a lot more, I think, in that arc that really made a lasting effect overall. Let me get to more stuff. See, that's what I mean. Sometimes I get on comments and I just go on long rants. Who would win hand to hand between Mimi and Jura? In straight hand to hand, honestly, I'd probably go Mimi. Like Jura's hand to hand is a byproduct of his moveset. Like his earth magic and his ability to manipulate earth magic and stone is his primary ability. That's his primary way of fighting, where his fighting way is a secondary means that comes along with it. It's kind of like Dragon Slaying. Like Dragon Slayers in a similar manner. Like if Jura is the only difference in some ways between Jura and like an Earth Dragon Slayer is like an Earth Dragon Slayer would be cladding the earth onto their body and stuff and kind of utilizing it a little bit differently. But Jura's designed in a similar manner, where his physical strength is part of his moveset. It's way more secondary, I'd say, because he's not a Slayer. Like his physical prowess is way less of focus than it is in most cases. Like where we see it done, but he's way more in his earth manipulation when he's fighting and whatnot. I would probably say Mimi, because Mimi, like, if Jura could be close to her now, because he was Upper Wizard Saint, but Mimi should legitimately be within Spriggan tier. She's not as hacks as a regular Spriggan, but she should have the sheer damage capability as a, like, damage and durability levels of a Spriggan level character. And Mimi's got the placement to be at least above current Jura, but on top of that, like, this is her primary usage of her abilities. Like, her primary is what Jura is also good at, but I wouldn't be willing to say that, like, his level of physical strength would be able to match Mimi's, essentially. What's your current take on Noelle versus Seven Deadly Sins? I got my money on Noelle. I don't really see that one right now. Like, all of the Seven Deadly Sins, I mean, like, someone like Merlin is just gonna, snap her fingers and cancel all that out. Put her in a perfect cube and use absolute cancel. Well, actually, hang on. She should be faster than them, because, like, Seven Deadly Sins is, like, they have some good feats, but they don't have a whole lot in terms of speed. They have lightning feats, but they didn't really get anything for light speed. She can definitely take she can take King. She should be relatively fine in taking King. If she's faster than him, she should just be too fast for him to really deal with. Bot is too durable for her. Meliodas is too durable for her. Like, Escanor, again, Escanor is a wild card. It depends entirely on what point Escanor you're using. She should actually beat Gowther just fine. Who else is there? Diane. I don't think she could take Diane. I think Diane is so durable that she wouldn't be able to really do anything. Whereas, like, if she could beat Diane, it would literally be like death by 1,000 cuts. She would have to do so many small attacks that she just can't. Like, she just would fall. Am I forgetting anybody in the Seven Deadly Sins? I think I got everybody. Adam versus Blackbeard. I definitely go Adam. Like, Blackbeard's doesn't seem as broken, and as far as we know, like, the only thing right now Mashal doesn't have is speed stuff. Like, they have some pretty fair hacks. Like, if, like, we just saw this dude, like, erase, like, some mountains. Like, if he had some speed moves, he actually could be a really high-level contender. I would definitely give it to... At speed equal, I'd give it to Adam, but speed unequal, I'd definitely give it to Blackbeard, because, like, Mashal just right now just does not have much for speed. Which is a bigger moment between Elfman taking a Bacchus or Magna taking a Dante. Dante, I definitely give Magna taking down Dante as the overall one. In terms of that, like, last moment hype, I would probably give it to... I'd give it to Elfman and Bacchus in that area, because with Dante, I figured Magna was going to win. I think it was really hard to believe that Dante was going to win after he got soul chained. Whereas it seemed like Bacchus was going to win at some point, obviously the way that it was set up. And I really liked how it was presented more. I really liked the back and forth between them. Whereas in terms of just, like, the hype, I think it was way more of like, a thing for Magna. Whereas with
Whereas with Elfman, it was a really cool moment for Elfman. Right? But Magna had way more, I think, emotions riding on it after we got that flashback of him pretty much being held back and watching Yami get taken. Like, if you went 10 rounds of this, I would say probably like 3 to 4 times I would give to Elfman versus Bacchus, and then, I'd give 6 to 7 times for Dante versus Magna. Also, just because we've been in here for about an hour. It's been a little bit since I've shilled last. If you could thumbs up the stream, befriend the like button, subscribe button if you would like to. And if you think that I deserve it, throw $1 or $2 my way. Any form of donation is appreciated. You don't have to, though. They are 100% optional. But anyway, I finished doing my every once in a while shill. Hunter's Guild gives me Ruby Burn the Witch vibes. A little bit, maybe Ruby, but with like an actual idea of like where to go consistently. Can Kiaru defeat? No, we're not gonna go into frickin' no frickin' redo the healer stuff. I don't want to have any weird comments and concerns with what's going on there. I do regret informing me that he's quite behind in the reading chat. I'm getting caught up. Who's more unhinged than Saint Bonica or Shura? Right now, actually, I'd probably go Shura after like the people he just kills for no reason. Bacchus really is really that relevant. I wish Bacchus was more relevant. Dante and Elfman beating Bacchus aren't even comparable significant. It's the understanding of the characters, the odds they were against, and the way that and energy that they gave off upon defeating them. Because Elfman had a similar thing of like it didn't seem like it was possible he was going to defeat Bacchus. Bacchus had hype up to Urza, and granted, he's not as outright powerful as Urza, but he's in a fighting class as Urza. Bacchus' whole thing was speed, technique, and when he had his whole drunk martial arts style involved, unpredictability. Now, speed is the dangerous thing in that. But like Elfman's canonical weakness is that he's slow. He can throw hands at like people like Natsu, like not like all out Natsu, like not right now, but he can, especially in Grand Magic games, he could throw hands with people at his level, but he couldn't keep up with them. He's too slow. So somebody like that, it was just like it was a terrible matchup for him. And it was only because he was able to, pretty much like he was able to bait Bacchus into a specific confrontation that favored him, but worked in a manner and method that made sense for both their characters. And it's the similar style, but obviously it's a way different set of context. 1 second, I'm gonna refresh the page to see if the chapter's out yet. I'm kind of hoping not, because we're fairly into this. Okay. Sometimes it'll come out like decently in the stream, and I'll be like, well, I'm only an hour into the stream. I don't want to end it already. I felt bad that I didn't get to stream as long. Well, I didn't get to stream over the weekend like I wanted to, because I wanted to stream on Saturday, but it was so freaking hot. And I had RT stream. I jumped into that, and I really didn't want to do that and then go to a stream when I was like melting in my chair because of the sheer temperature it was at. Because I know there are some people maybe that are from like hotter areas. You have to understand, hundreds are something I'm not used to. So you have to understand the gap in it'd be like if you went to somewhere that is cold for you, but for me it'd be regular. It'd be like, oh well, yeah, it's that sheer level of what you're used to that it just you're not able to adapt to it or handle it as fast. Maybe strip Rebecca's ether gear, like all for one, steals quirks. I don't know. I don't think that's how it would be. I think it'd be really weird if like she loses a leg, she can't use it anymore. It's like you should know how to do it. It's manipulating the ether. It's not like your power is literally tied to your feet. I don't know. Maybe we'll get an explanation later that really kind of gives more credit to it. Maybe like there's something we don't know yet about ether gear that hasn't been revealed. Could Happy solo attack on Titan by ramming himself into people through Titans at napes at high speeds? Yes. The thing is, like, it's a really crazy thing about it, but absolutely. Like when you think about how things are with projectiles, the weight and the speed are two extremely valuable things. I think obviously like the density and like the shape of it is also like a really big thing. But Happy, to the people of Attack on Titan, bullets are fast. Happy was dodging bullets in Chapter 1. we've seen Happy move across Fiore in a matter of seconds, which is a massive. It's a small country in Fairy Tail. In reality, it's huge because of like in inverse distances we've been given. It's actually massive. It's like the size of a large country in real life. Happy is fast. Happy is one of the few characters that has always been emphasized on being fast. Happy, Gray, Jalal, those are all characters that consistently been brought up and displayed of being fast characters. Characters can be fast and have fast feats, but there are certain characters that are always shown and emphasized. These are the fast characters. Happy is one of them. Wish Black Clover was taken by Mappa because Peria. Thing is, like, if Peria just did it like when they did Bleach, I think it'd be fine. It's just that I think that they just don't have nearly as big of a staff anymore. We just gotta wait for hopefully the return and them to get things a lot better on track. Black Clover opening's over My Hero. I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna say that. The only My Hero opening I really liked was 4. I think it's the one with the weird disco opening. I really liked that one. I think that was good. I actually, like, I heard that one, I liked it. I heard it sung by a woman, and I think I thought it sounded better. I don't know what it was. I think it just sounds better with a female voice. But I'm sure there are people that could say the same thing for female songs. Like, if they heard it maybe from a male voice, maybe they'll like it better. That's just opinion. Now, what about Max taking down Doom versus Magnus taking down Dante? I mean, is that a general hype? I think most people would be more hyped for the Dante one. I liked the Max and Doom thing because it gave way more of a nod at one of the core themes of the guild, and you can go look at the fight with Azuma to really see that, because Azuma understood that, like, the strength of the Fairy Tail Guild is their harmony amongst each other, like how well they can kind of work together and really utilize each other and be utilized by each other to the best of their abilities to fight for their guild. And everyone, like, all these characters who otherwise would be way weaker getting buffed by Wendy, I thought was really cool, and I really liked, like, it was one of my favorite story pieces in 100 Years Quest when Max revealed that for the last year he went over to Alvarez and he trained under Ajo. I was so happy about that. That was so cool. Like, I love having character interactions that happen in advanced characters in ways based off of things in the story. Like, to a lesser extent, Sho teaching Kana how to trap people in cards. It's cool. It makes the world feel more alive when you have characters gain abilities or relationships, things progress through events that happen. It's like eventually when we saw Angel, like when we saw Serrano and Yukino meet back, it was really cool. Or like when we first started getting hints at Yukino's sister, you're able to kind of like understand, like, oh, wait a second, you're able to kind of like put pieces together, and it just makes it feel like things are moving, like there are way more active pieces going on. I really liked that fight. Like the Magna versus Dante fight was really cool. I probably have a little bit of a bias on the Max versus Doom fight because I look at it very much from the core aspect of the Fairy Tail Guild and what they do a lot of the time, like how they fight, how they kind of like look upon each other, and how they really min-max their full capabilities just through finding out ways for others to be useful. I was very happy about that. The only thing that would have made that chapter better is if, like, the characters somehow got their regular outfits in between it, because it's like whenever I read back that one, it's still cool, but it's like seeing them do them in their whiteout, like, cult uniforms. I wish Max was in his normal outfit, because I actually always liked Max, so that was a big plus to me for having Max actually do something, and it was done in such a good way. Now people are trying to claim Noelle getting Saint, Spirit Dive as an Aspel. Whoever says there's kind of silly. Leon over Gray, no way. I definitely do not agree on that. Rax, too late. It's almost July. You will finally be Irene in July, man. Lola Petrica kept her magic. I don't know if she would keep these abilities. That'd be kind of... I mean, actually, would she? Because Patri got to keep his. So maybe that'd be her thing. Maybe that could be her thing. It's like regular, she can only do support stuff, but when she goes offensive, she like has to like have this like unstable devil personality. I don't know. Bleach have a game for maybe PS5 or Xbox One. I could see it. We having a harder time trying to win the wars between Zero Clover, Clover Crew, and Straw Hat Alliance. Who's having a harder time? I I mean, I'd probably give it right now the Straw Hats because their leader is down. Like realistically, Luffy is down, so they have the worst. They have the worst spot right now. Shiki's up. Like the Eden Zero crew is mostly good. The Clover crew is mostly good. The Straw Hats are the only one that are, and they have Zoro's hurt too. So like there is a thing that Zoro and Luffy are getting treated right now, but they're both definitely down. So I would really look at it as like they have the worst spots. They are in the most corner. We're in so much hate in the past year. It's just like become a thing. I think that there were also a lot of Mira Jane fans doing it as well. He's not done a lot. I mean, he has done a lot character-wise. He hasn't done a lot fighting-wise. What chapter, what about Chapter 100 Years Quest? I hope it's going to be epic. I really am looking forward to that. We're at 85, so 15 more chapters. Maybe that'll be one where we get like a big Selene reveal, or maybe that's where the fight with Selene will kind of like start to really rev up. Or we could get like... I actually really am hoping we get like a big important lore piece now that I think about it. I would really love to get some important story lore rather than some fight setups, because we've gotten a lot of good fights already in this arc. I've been really enjoying it. And we're about done with like these demonstration fights. We've gotten the Moonlight Beauty Gods of the way. I really, actually, I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped to see Selene's response to the Moonlight Beauty Gods being defeated. Like, is she going to replace them? Is she going to do anything with them? Like, what is her take? I really like Selene. I've made that very clear. But also, like, there's so many interesting character moments up and coming. Like, we're going to potentially see Fairy Tail and Diabolos meet up. We're going to find out more about the Whiteout Village. We're going to find out more about Elentier. We're going to see what Selene does now that her little Legion group has been defeated. Is she going to just operate on her own? Is she going to appoint new Moonlight Beauty Gods? What is she going to do? I'm actually really hoping that she's just going to find 3 new people, appoint the Moonlight Beauty Gods, and just kind of like buff them up, give them power. And make it like Hakune, Yoko, and Mimi were nothing to them. Like, nothing to her. Because they should be. We like, seen where these fights are, where, like, realistically, Lucy, Urza, and Gray, like, they can defeat their opponents. They just, like, they just had to, they had more tricky opponents to deal with. They had to start, like, thinking outside of what they're already doing, try some new things, as well as utilize, this world's new set of abilities. Whereas Selene, like, they're not even getting close to her. We saw what Suzaku's capable of, and Suzaku can't do anything. Like, he got the scratch on her, but it's like she clearly wasn't fighting seriously, and once she started to kind of, like, put in a little bit more legwork, he's down bad horribly. He's getting clapped. Stay winning under, like, that ruffian Asta. Shy Penguin. Man, I feel like, is that Nebs? Is that a Nebs ult account? August and Kana had a good parallel with each other and their dads. Yeah, I know. Like, if Gray doesn't do anything to catch up Natsu, he's fine. Gray is advancing. He is advancing. This is the same as Lucy No Keys. What Gray did this chapter, at a core level, advances his magic in all directions. Because now he's got the ability to put Devil Slaying power into large-scale, fully dynamic ice weapons and ice constructs. At a fundamental level, this opens Gray's moveset to all sorts of new things. He can make any ice construct he wants now fully mobile, fully active. It's like the same with Lucy's keys. Lucy getting her key upgrade wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like when Natsu gained the ability to burn magic. That was a game changer at a fundamental level. Or Gray being able to, like, freeze attributes and elements and not just make ice. When we saw him freeze fire and later freeze, like, wind and stuff. Like, doing something that's extra for your moveset. Where this is just opening up, like, a whole new branch. You're essentially saying, hey, this crutch, like, this weakness of like, your magic, or maybe, like, this kind of, like, fundamental aspect of, like, kind of hampers you a little bit, kind of dampens you. Yeah, out of the way. This would be like if Natsu gained the ability to eat his own fire, or something like that. Like, Natsu's will probably be, like, pretty easy, like, just some, like, higher scale AoE damage. I want to see everybody's advanced magic, but his will probably be very simple. But this is really good for Gray. I wanted something kind of crazy or more complex, but this is actually really good for him at a fundamental core level. I don't see much in about how strong any of the giant ice soldiers are individually. I would assume, similar to Metro, that they're all going to be individually, like, within, like, fair Spriggan level. Each of these being decently Spriggan level, I would assume. Bucko, about to beat some sense in Deku's ass. I hope so. He says, like, hey, man, like, we got your back, man. What are you doing? Rax's Jaden comparison is on point. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. That's what I'm hoping for Deku. I think Deku is having it almost as bad a year as Yuji right now. No. Yuji watched people get killed. Like, he watched a lot of people he know die. Deku had a bad time. And Deku's in a rough spot because he's got a big weight on his shoulders and he's got a responsibility. He's clearly trying to pull as much in towards himself and away from people around him. But, like, Yuji watched multiple people he knows die. And has a lot of people that died on top of that are, like, he clearly sees are his fault. He had a way worse time than what Deku has. Jaden over Yugi. I think that's interchangeable. I really like Yugi and Jaden. Like, that's some of the hardest decision set for me is between the two of them. In a duel, obvious. But, like, as a character, I'll probably always lean a little bit towards Jaden, though. I really love GX. I wish the last season was freaking dubbed, man. It frustrates me because I like Yu-Gi-Oh! Both dubbed and subbed, but I bought the original series, like the complete collection, dubbed. Like this, like it's got the golden case of the DVD and stuff. But like I can't do that with. I wanted to get all of them. Like I wanted to get that for 5Ds and GX, but it's like they don't dub. They didn't dub the last season of either of those, so it will never be a full collection. It makes me sad. I can get the Japanese ones, but it's not the same. I don't know Digimon ones. I know Digimon characters are crazy though. But you guys sucked up, but Mimi was the goat. I did like Mimi. I'm glad she's not dead, so she can come around and hang out. A bunch of Power Ranger stuff in here. I don't want to do any random fight stuff. I like the easy fights. I don't want to go anything too crazy. Current Lowell versus Tartarus Lucy. I mean, Lucy should just be able to. Well, I mean, she didn't have her star dress at the time. Probably Noelle. I give it to no. That's pre-Star Dress Lucy. I mean, she has Aquarius though, is the thing. And if she can get Aquarius on Noelle, I can see her just kind of like taking all of Noelle's water from her. Because she has ways to hurt Noelle, but it's like that's like a big Lucy gap. Is like Tartarus Lucy. It's like pre-Grand Magic Games Lucy. Like, Grand Magic Games Lucy is really when Lucy was, like, gained the capability of really taking care of herself in combat. Like, she could always fight, but it's like, you can see the sheer level gaps between pre-Grand Magic Games Lucy, post-Grand Magic Games Lucy, post-Star Dress Lucy, and then obviously Lucy now. There's very clear gaps of, like, what she's capable of. Because like pre-Grand Magic Games Lucy, like she was a summoner, but she didn't have nearly as much fighting capability. Pre-Star Dress, her as a singular person, like she could still fight, but she didn't have nearly as much of capability. Whereas like Star Dress Lucy, I think where like Lucy individually really becomes like her own fighter in like a lot of ways. Pre Star Dress, I would give it to I get to Noelle. Celestial Spirit King versus Dante. Dude, the Celestial Spirit King is going to whoop the shit out of Dante. Like, he's just going to keep cleaving. He's going to drop... The second he drops Galaxia Blade, Dante's done. He's going to AoE turn Dante to stone. Dante has 0 counter to that. And Starlight corrodes darkness, so, like, I would... darkness and curses, it affects devils, so I would assume that it's going to affect his, like, it's going to fully affect his moveset. Like, fully affect his whole, like, devil possession and whatnot. I don't know why it wouldn't if it already has, like, consistent displays of affecting devils and, like, demonic abilities. Let me see, is the chapter out translated yet? I don't think so. Damn it. I want to read it. Like, the stuff that Wendy was talking about has my huge interest this chapter. I really want to know what exactly she was talking about with Face. Like, that was one of the things I haven't really talked about much, because I haven't looked at too much of the dialogue around it, is what the hell is Mishima doing having Face get involved right now? Like, Face, I didn't expect that at all. Like, out of the older stuff, like, that, I was like, okay, well, how is this going to be relevant? I was thinking stuff like, okay, the Magna Carta. We got dragon stuff going on. The Magna Carta could be relevant. What is Face doing relevant? I'm very hyped to see like where all the hands relate with Face. I think that's going to be really strange. I've really liked Elentier from the standpoint of just like its general impact on like the story overall, like making Daedalus. Daedalus is a better arc for Selene, of like why exactly that arc happened because of Selene. It connects to Selene. Events in that story retroactively are better because of this arc, which makes me happy. How much would Jura be if he was a Dragon Slayer? Dude, Jura would have probably gotten his own one-on-one fight in the Alvarez arc. Like, I don't think he'd be as strong as Laxus, but I think he'd actually be able to give Laxus like a good fight. Because he'd be way more durable, he'd be way more set for close combat. He'd essentially he'd be improving on what he's already good at, pretty much. If Jura was a Dragon Slayer, dude, he'd be a monster. He's like Gildarts, because Gildarts is a similar way. Like, Gildarts' fighting style and the way he uses magic is not that far off from like how a Dragon Slayer would be. And that's the way that Jura really is. I'm excited because Nappa is trash. Nappa does good stuff. I really hope they don't fumble Chainsaw Man. I'm so hyped for Chainsaw Man. I'm not that far behind in the chat, actually, now that I look. I'm not that far back. I can catch up with this in a couple minutes. Let's see. If Magic Knights and Wizard Saints fought, I'm assuming for the Saints, it wouldn't end well for the Saints. If you put Magic Knights against the Wizard Saints are going to win. Because one thing about the Wizard Saints, they have Jalal. Jalal can solo the captains, no problem. Like, he's like what August is for the Spriggan. He's so much above everyone else. Or like if you looked at S-Class and then you have Gildarts. Like, he was at all points, well, he wasn't as all points above them. Because, like, obviously, the start of the series, Gildarts was so far above everyone else. Start of Introduction August was so far above the Spriggan. Whereas Jalal wasn't that crazy of a Wizard Saint upon first introduction, but he's still technically Wizard Saint-ish. You would have, I mean, you can't really subtract them because we don't know all the Wizard Saints. Like, we have Makarov, Josei, Jalal. You can have honorary ones if you want to count Urza, if you want to have, Jalal in there as well, like I said. You don't have nearly as many, but it's like the Wizard Saints have so much more powerful people. Dragon God minions are Spriggan tier fighters, of course. Oh crap. Kid Mono, you freaking crazy guy, man. Let me see what this says. $200. Thank you very much, Kimono. I appreciate your contributions at all times. Rex, you've been able to get some free time. I will have free time this weekend. So, if you can DM me those series, they're just at me in the Discord. I'll read the first couple chapters this weekend. I have, it's a holiday off on Monday for my work. So I have a 3-day weekend. So I will have more time this weekend, and I do want to read more manga. Like, I really want to read more manga this weekend. Today is obviously, like, I have today off, like, that I'm not working. But today is obviously a Fairy Tail Day, whereas, like, this weekend I can definitely have more time for other series. I'm finally able to have, like, an extra day on my schedule that I wasn't planning. Because, like, it's not just, like, that Monday is a holiday. I didn't know it was a holiday. So, it's, I think the 6th of July? July 6th? Yeah. No, 5th. I didn't think it was going to be a holiday. I figured, like, at work I was going to have that Friday off instead. But instead it's the Monday, which makes more sense because 4th of July is on Sunday this year. I will have that Monday off, and I have no plan. I had nothing planned for it, so I will have more than enough time to read that one. So just at me on Discord, and I will. I'll get to that this weekend. I have some videos prepped up. I'm actually really excited to set up too. I'm gonna be doing hopefully the White Shadow Dragon Slayer video on top of that magic. I'm gonna put that out before the weekend. I do want to be way more upkeep set on those, on what, like, abilities and stuff for the one archive. But I do want to get back on the character stuff. I want to get back, because, like, coincidentally, the character what I want to do next is Sting. So I got to do a Sting one. I've been playing a lot with with Photoshop editing stuff so I can make cooler thumbnails. That's the first thing I want to do right now. Well, first thing. That's the most recent thing I want to do. And soon I want to start messing a little bit more with like video editing. I'm going to mess around a little bit more of that, figure out if I can find out new stuff. Right now I've just been doing stuff to make my thumbnails look cooler. And I hope that the weird functions and edits have been up there. But yes, thank you, Kenmano, very much for the 200. You're a crazy guy like always, and your money is very much appreciated. And we'll go to, I don't know, probably, I kind of want to get a new statue or something cool. I'll definitely put it towards something really cool. I won't put it towards something boring like socks. Even though socks are actually pretty nice. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get some nice socks at some point. I'll put that on the side. Cool thing and a nice pair of socks. But yeah, appreciate it, man. At me in the Discord, and I'll check those out soon. Probably this weekend. Because there's some other stuff. I want to get caught up. I saw you at me earlier on the Hinawa chapter. I'm like 2 chapters behind, and I think a new chapter just came out. I'm going to get caught up on that this weekend as well, because I want to do a review for it, because I haven't done a review in a couple weeks. Or sorry, a couple of months actually. But I'm just gonna do like a 3-chapter review on that one. Luckily, I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited to have some free time. I haven't had nearly as much free time as I've wanted recently, and I wanted to do stuff over the weekend, but like legit, it was so hot the whole weekend. I actually saw my cats panting, and I didn't know they did that. I was actually fully unaware that cats panted like dogs. But it was interesting to see. My cats were not happy how hot it was. It's just an additional thing. It's cooled down. I can luckily turn my AC off from running 24/7 soon, and I can try living in Florida. See, the thing is, if I lived in Florida, I would be able to get used to it. So like 100-degree weather is no problem. But when you live in a place where like most of the year it's in the 60s, and then suddenly for 3 days it's 100+ degrees, it sucks. It's way different if you're used to it versus if it's just out of nowhere. I'm lucky that I've got good cooling. If I didn't have this AC and like all these fans I had set up, I probably would have boiler weekend. I would have had little to no online presence over the last 3 days if I didn't have my AC stuff. I'd be just miserable and then be in the heat. I'm just telling you that right now. It would be every once in a while I post something, and then I go back to sweating, essentially. But anyway, let me get some more of the comments. I distracted because I was like thinking of like, man, that would have really sucked. What happened to the Wizard Saints when they tried to step on a Spriggan? Yeah, but the captains, if any of the captains tried to step on a Spriggan, they're gonna get killed. They're gonna get the same treatment if they try to fight any of the Spriggans. How do you feel the Dwarf Saga, which could happen after the Spade? I don't know if it'd be a saga. I actually really want the Dwarf stuff to be like a arc in this. Like, I don't want the stuff with the Devils to just be in the Spade. I want this to be part of it. I'm hoping that, like, the overall events of what goes on with the Devils extends beyond the Spade arc. Like, I'm hoping everything going right now is just, like, a chunk of it. Like, after this, maybe, like, Megicula escapes, goes somewhere else. They have to follow her. They have to figure out what Megicula's doing. Maybe it's Megicula and Morris in some crazy-ass combo, where they have to go back to the Spade Kingdom because Morris needs to get something secret from his lab that, like, he kept hidden away. Something like that, one of those plot lines. Gray needs a Demon Force form stat. I mean, that's what he already has, but we just haven't gotten any advanced forms of it, or a name for it. I definitely would love a name for it. I'm excited for the Chainsaw Man anime. Yes, dude, I'm really excited. Shock Schlop. I was gonna read that backwards somehow. My favorite Homor training part is the torch massage, which is eating 0 parts animated. Wait, which the recent? Oh, did they animate that part with like the massage and shit? Nice. Actually, I think I saw that on Twitter. One Piece Queen versus Luck. Luck just lightning bolts through his body, destroys from the inside. Oh, Dragon Joe is going to steal Cat Leaper, which is tech, which is similar to Ether Gear in the future. Was always trying to steal similar technologies. Yeah, but that's a separate thing, I would assume. Opening 3 is the best. Still, isn't it opening 4? Is opening 4 the tech one, the techno one, the disc one? I play it, but I don't want to get copyright struck. Herman is really a mix of Wendy and Hatsune. I mean, she's not even really like. It's weird when people want to compare them when it's like, when you look at it, they're similar, I guess, from their stature. But like Wendy and Hermit don't really have much of a similar backstory, and they don't really have that similar of a personality. Where does God just stand amongst magic knights? What do you mean, like the Clover Kingdom? Definitely one of the upper captains. What would Austin Shiki say to Deku in this situation he's in? They'd probably try and cheer him up and help him. Like, I mean, most shonen main characters would get along, and I think they would try and be nice to Deku, given that he's under a lot of stress and pressure. Scariest Dragon Ball moment? Probably when they found like all the dead. Like, remember when Cell was getting introduced, they found all the people with like their bodies sucked out, and it's just like skin and shit. Oh, the Ida's little brother character. What are you talking about Boruto for? When is Haruka last page coming out? What do you mean? Alma Lilith and Zagreus versus Tartarus? Tartarus claps. Like, they just have too many people. They're smarter. Margear could erase any of them. You have Silver. Silver's a freaking Devil Slayer. Like, they have good hacks and they're strong. But, like, Tartarus just has too much hacks. And two people that they would have a horrible time against. Like, you have a Devil Slayer. Ice Devil Slaying is literally the worst type of opponent for them, because one, Devil Slaying. Two, you have ice, so Nama or Lilith is already countered. And then you have the fact that Ice Devil Slaying is set up to combat fire. So you have essentially like Ice Devil Slaying, literally the three things it's most effective against: ice, fire, devils. They have a terrible time against him. And their ability, like, he can counteract and nullify their abilities, does extra damage to him. He can free... Could you imagine if he was against Nama, and Nama's like, oh, we'll just turn into fire and get away from this guy, and then Silver just says, nope, freezes him anyway, freezes the flames solid. They'd be so confused. They'd have a terrible time. I'm not behind on the chat. I'm only like a few comments behind. I can see the bottom. I'm not behind on the chat. You guys can't trick me on it this week. I can see the chat. This is not far behind. Percival lost money. I haven't read the new chapter yet. I'm going to read it after the stream. Yeah, there's the kid. Luckily, the very appreciated Kenmano super chat. Again, Kenmano, just at me on what do I do for... I don't like to go too much into my information. These are my secrets. But just know, Monday I have off. So I will have extra time. I do want to read some more manga this weekend, so I will be reading that I'll read probably... I guess it'll depend on how long the chapters are. I'll read a good chunk of those two you're reading me. One of them I wanted to read before you told me about it, and then when you recommended, I was like, oh yeah, it looks like more people are getting into this. The other one, I haven't checked out at all. I think I've heard about it from like one other person. Kimano always throwing money around. Kimano... I always tell Kamano, like, he doesn't have to give me crazy amounts, but he can do whatever he wants with his money. I'm conflicted about it every time, because, you know, I don't know how much work I put into this that, like, I deserve crazy super chats like that. Like, a few dollars, appreciated. Kinmano is known in the lore of my streams to go crazy. And again, I don't know if I deserve that amount, but again, he can do whatever he wants with his money. It's his money. I can't tell anybody what to do with their cash. It is his own earnings. Like, legitimately, unless I turn off the numbers, then I can't really discourage him to not. It's always up to him. It's 100% his own capabilities, his own decisions. I told him last time, like the amount he just gave, like, that's fine for the year. He doesn't have to give any more money. I mean, he didn't have to give this, but he can do whatever he feels like. We don't do AC in Europe? What do you mean AC? Oh, like air conditioning? What do you guys do when it's hot in Europe? I'm confused. You guys don't do, like, air conditioning in Europe? What do you guys do? That's actually more of just, like, a general, like, perplexing question. Can Gildart's Crush Magic cancel Blackbeard's Quake Fruit if they clash attacks? Yes, because Gildart's Crush doesn't just affect magic. It affects people, it affects things, it affects ethereal things, it affected light. It's weird, like, it has a gigantic range. I don't know why it wouldn't affect it, but it should affect it just fine. Since Sure has a connection to Ziggy and what he's done so far, what do you think he's going to be a better villain than Draken Joe? What do you think he's gonna? Oh, what do you think he's gonna do to be a better villain than Draken Joe? He has to play way more on the character, like having way more character and like how he relates and makes Shiki respond while also holding up his his level of bad guy position in Persona. Because Draken Joe was just so different than any of the other bad guys coming in. Oh yeah, let me read more of this. I actually realized I only read like half of Kenmano's chapter because I only got I responded immediately. Also, when you got time to yeah, you know why I responded to that. Luckily, something to do well. I have an idea for a channel, but only if you want to. What idea do you have? You gotta tell me what idea it is. Is it for Hinawa or what? Oh, how do I translate? I just use Google Translate, man. I have an app and they have a scan translation where you just kind of take a picture of it. Like I don't like. I know a little bit of stuff I can look at and kind of recognize in Japanese, but I'm not like a translator. I couldn't do it professionally. When do you see Fairy Tail 8 take off? It was it was in the Grand Magic Games when Sting surrendered. There was a bunch of YouTube people that jumped on the hype train on that and didn't even understand why Sting surrendered. They just said he was a pussy and didn't get any of the build up around his character or anything about that at all. And it just got annoying. It's kind of like with Bleach. Bleach hate just came out of nowhere. People start hating on Bleach, and then once people actually once the cheap people actually took into them, somewhere with Black Clover, they actually liked them because for some reason it just became popular to hate on him at some point. Last page version of the first Stone being played in Asta's fight with eBay. Oh, that one? Oh, I don't know then. Inadori and Asta more alike. I don't know how well they'd get along. Probably fine, actually. They'd probably be okay. Jalal's only captains is really laughable. No, Jalal. What do the captains do to Jalal? Go look at Jalal's moveset. Go look at his feats. Jalal getting mad cleared out the sky from the horizon to the opposite ending horizon. Jalal, start of series, Grand Chariot at first introduction. He said it had the same level of power as a meteor. That's just the base set, a regular meteor. Not talking about Senma. We're not talking about like his later versions of Grand Chariot, because obviously it's gonna scale with how powerful he becomes. We're talking about like Altair's. We're not talking about like reflection magic, illusion magic, how absurdly fast he is, how absurdly durable it is, withstanding getting gripped by Acnologia of all fucking people. None of the captains can do anything to Jalal. He dances around all of them, sets up Grand Chariot, and one-shots them. Like, he has absurd reactions. He's under the effects of Racer's magic, and is still... And he has Racer, who has speed magic, who has time perception slowing magic, Cobra, who has precog near the point where he has hearing magic near the point that it's borderline precognition. And Jalal still blitzes and bodies both of them. Even with his perception of time drastically slowed down, he's able to blitz a guy who can hear your movements from both your body, your heart, and your mind before you do them. Jalal would manhandle the captains. I will absolutely take on any challenge to this debate. You set that up, do it if you want, and put it up on Twitter at me. I guarantee you I will challenge any single person that wants the debate. All of the captains. Not the captains one by one. Take all of them. Every single Magic Knight captain. Throw Julius in there. Jalal will still clap the living shit out of them. You're underestimating Jalal so drastically. Was Slingo motherly mode with Otama just like Big Mom? Why would she? Why? We haven't seen anything like that from Celine. Big Mom is actually a mom. So, like, she's gonna have... Like, Big Mom's crazy, and she's definitely, like, a lunatic, but, like, she still has motherly instincts from both, like, just being, like, an older woman, but also being an experienced mom. So, as much as I don't like the whole mother mode with Otama, because someone brought up a good point. It's like, why wasn't she doing this when frickin' Mononosuke, or whatever his name is, was up on a cross, like, getting beaten and crucified? Like, why didn't she do that? But Celine would have absolutely zero reason to do that. We ever see actual fairies with tails in the series? Maybe. I don't really know how much I count the frickin' Zara version, just because that one was... That one was a little questionable on like if it was more like a nod or like a reference of, yeah, hey look, character sort of in the series, somewhat. There is like the idea like you can say like Mishima drew a somewhat similar, I guess, in setup with that, but otherwise it'd be like I don't know. We might, if we get one though, it would have to be at the very end. If we get a legit face-to-face fairy, it would have to be really important because that is a story piece importance thing when you really look at it in the large scale aspect of the series. Opinion about Mavis' friendship with Zara. People don't talk enough about it. I thought it was nice. It was very pure. It was very very innocent. It's unfortunate that Mavis had to go through with that. Because Suzaku sold all 3 of the Moonlight Beauty Gods. Yeah, absolutely. He would walk through each of them. Black Clover reached 16 million today. We're eating good. Good. They open windows. You just open windows in Europe? But what if it's too hot outside? Like, I understand if, like, maybe it's, like, not as hot in the area, but, like, if it gets too hot, do you turn on a fan? Like, you don't have AC? When it's hot, weather don't get humid, so that's the reason most of Europe don't do AC. Man, I don't know. When it gets too hot, I can't take it. Like, it's easy to be in cold weather because you need to put on more clothes or get blankets or whatever. But, like, when it gets too hot, you can only take off so many clothes, man. It just gets horrible. Especially when it's humid. But I guess, like, humidity would play a big factor in it. Natsu had a regime, like, Injustice Superman, who would be the members. I mean, what would he be doing? Like, it'd be really weird on, like, how it would really go. Because Natsu turning Injustice like Superman, I feel like it would be such a weird shift. There's not going to be a lot of people that just decide to shift with him. Of like, yeah, let's go murder people we think might be bad. You think someone in Diabolos 8 Acnologia's arm maybe go master? I've had that theory for a while that his arm might have got to them at some point because it logically would be a way that would explain like a large power hike. If not for one of them, but maybe partial. Maybe like each of them had like a small piece of Acnologia, and that's how they're able to raise the bar so quickly. Like again, that's just headcanon right now. Oh no, I guess not headcanon. It's a theory of where things are gonna go with that, but we'll see. Charlotte too fast? Yeah, he's too fast. No, he sounds like Saitama's training. Yeah, it sounds horrible. Did you say Yasuke, Scales, and Fairy Tail? What do you mean? Yasuke? Or do you mean Yusuke? Like Yusuke Urameshi? I meant could Suzaku take on all 3 of them at once? Yeah, he would just clap them. He'd blitz all 3 of them. He would blitz all 3 of them, no problem. Yeah, Jalal blocked an attack from Acnologia. What do the captains do? Nothing. What do the Clover Knight captains do to Jalal? Nothing. Jalal can block, reflect, just generally deal with any attacks. He's also got stuff like binding magic. He should I would assume with Mystical and stuff he's also got sleep magic. He's also going to have things like telepathy. He's got binding magic. Did I mention binding magic already? Like he's got so much of an arsenal on top of like how outright powerful he is. Like he's got no problem. In the dark future Rebecca saw, it would be worse than 10,000 future in Fairy Tail because bots will probably rule. I don't know about that. Like in the concept of if in the concept of the robots take over, unless they somehow have the whole universe, like you could just go somewhere else. It's kind of like I imagine in Star Wars. Like when you think about Star Wars and like the Empire ruling a galaxy, just go to a different galaxy. In like worst case scenario, you go to a different galaxy where they're not at yet, or they're not at, or at least not yet. With the 10,000 dragons, you're stuck with them. They're there. They pretty much ruined everything. You only have people, the last couple people living in hiding. What's Nozel Mercury gonna do against Megicula? I mean, he could literally just play like outright plain offense defense and be fine. He doesn't have to kill Megicula. Like you can still be useful in a fight against a devil if you can't deal the damage to your devil. I mean, like Mimosa can't do anything to a devil, but you'd still want her in the fight because she's useful. She'd just provide healing. Dante, Lance, Shiki, Donnie in Gravity Power. Is Lance a better gravity manipulator than Shiki? I can't remember anything he does that's crazy. I just remember those big pillars. Oh yeah, let's see from your shock show. I mean, he would probably be like somewhere within like a fair Wizard Saint level, like upper Wizard Saint, between somewhere like Jura and God Serena. What can Gordon do against Megicula? I don't think Gordon could do anything against Megicula as a whole, but I think Gordon could handle one-on-one things from Megicula. Like if Megicula did a curse, I think Gordon could handle one of those curses. I think he could figure out a way to handle one, but I don't think he could like combat. It'd be like Irene versus Wendy at enchantments. Wendy can deal with some of Irene's enchantments when they're not directly focused on her, like because Irene was primarily focusing on Urza. Wendy could do stuff to a degree on the back while engaged in the fight, and that's kind of how I assume Gordon would be in their fight. Smartest member of the Magic Knights captains in terms of fighting? Probably Nozel. Like, Fuego is supposed to be the smartest, but Nozel's magic is literally designed... He's essentially kind of like how Gray is with Ice Make. I guess where you can look at Musica, considering Silver, he's a Silver Climber. Like, it's just full manipulation. His is almost borderline down to the degree of, like, his imagination and different ways he can utilize it. Okay, Guillotine, like I said, what do the captains do to Jalal? Like, set up the fight on Twitter at me, man. I will respond. Like, I'm gonna end the stream soon, but if you want to set this up, I will debate you on Twitter with this any day, and I will take on anybody who joins in the argument and wants to say otherwise. Because I am 100% fully on the hill that Jalal not just beat them, Jalal should clap them. Jalal should run through them so easily. Like a serious Jalal. You put him, like, Jalal against face-off, and he's like, hey, I have to beat these guys. Not like, hey, I'm here to talk. Like, outright, he is in this to win. He is going to dominate them. What I expect from Noelle next chapter? I would say next chapter, I mostly want Noelle to understand the severity of the situation she's in. Like, the best case scenario for me of the next chapter is we start seeing what the difference is between Vonica and Megicula, and Noelle being like, oh shit, like I actually have to be way more mindful here. Like I want her to kind of be put back in a spot where she's not helpless, but she realizes like I pretty much need to regather everything. Like I need to take a moment, pull back, and figure out the scenario I'm in and what I'm now dealing with. That is what I really want from Noelle next chapter, actually, now that I think about it. It's just her to kind of address her current situation now that it's changed. I wonder if there's a dragon takeover magic. Probably not, I would assume, because then it'd be like, why don't you just learn dragon slaying magic? See, I don't remember nearly as much about Yo, so I can't... Like, I feel like Dante would be fine against Yo, right? Because he can just throw a singularity at him. Megicula does manifest... It's going to be a Zaggart situation. Everybody in the area would need to take her down. I would assume so. And I fully believe that she's going to be way smarter than, way smarter than the freaking twins. Twin bozos. Right? Lance is more like, sure, when he manipulates others' gravity. I just can't remember if he's done anything crazy with it. If Celine fought just Superman, how long would she last? I remember in just assuming he's got planetary feats, but, like, Celine should be, like, an outright counter to him. Like, Superman is weak to magic. She can use magic. She could just literally teleport him into a different dimension and leave him there. So she could just win by doing that. Think we'll see a little Pacheco attack spell? Yes. I think we're definitely going to see some Devil Water attack spells in the next couple chapters. Pretty close on who's unhinged between Shura and Vonica, because Vonica's killed her own guys. The thing that I would definitely say between Vonica and Shura as, like, a tipping point is... Shura is way quicker to kill people than Vonica is. Like, it seems way easier to get Shura to be like, alright, I'm just gonna murder your ass, than it is with Vonica. Right now, we haven't seen Vonica in casual situations, but I think Shura, at least based on Megicula versus Jalal, Jalal should be outright superior to her in all stats. He just drops Grand Chariot. Like, even 10 people against you? Yeah, do it! Tell me what they do. Tell me what the captains do to Jalal. If you want, like, legitimately make the match. If you think that they stand a chance, I will argue anybody on this. Jalal is not only going to win, he is going to clap them. Jalal is going to run a train. It'd be the same thing. It's worse than if I said Laxus, because Laxus is powerful, but Jalal has a better moveset across the board. They would be dealing with somebody who is outright more powerful, more experienced with them, and has a moveset that none of them have really been able to deal with. Jalal has multiple magics, and he's smart at utilizing all of them. Had to get some stuff done. Yeah, I'm going to close it up soon, too. We haven't had an Asta chap for a while. I think Tabata will make one since it's them. So we just had a bunch of Asta stuff, so I'm kind of hoping we don't get any Asta content for a little bit. At least for a little bit. But yeah, we've been going for like 2 hours now? Yeah, a little under 2 hours. Yeah, Guillotine, you think that they can stand a chance against Jalal? Make the post. At me on the post. I dare you. Otherwise, accept the L, man. Jalal will clap them. But yeah, other than that, though, I'm going to call it on the stream. We're going to hopefully stream regular times again on Saturday. The only way that I won't be streaming on Saturdays if something comes up. Outside of that, wait, what's your opinion on Yu Hakusho? I like Yu Hakusho. I like it more than Hunter x Hunter. But yeah, other than that, though, comment below. Thumbs up the video, and I really appreciate it if everybody had a great weekend. Well, actually, fuck.